What was your most depraved act? When I was 18, I worked at a Renaissance fair. Now I'm 24. Back then, I often had to flirt to boost sales. I flirted with a girl around 25, and she said she'd buy something from me in exchange for a kiss. She leaned over the counter and kissed me. She bought 10 figurines from me for $600, each cost between $150 and $300. You won't believe this, but I slept with 4 guys who were brothers over the course of about a month. Usually, I only hung out with one of them. When I slept with the last one, he said, I heard you slept with all my brothers. I decided not to do that again. They also had a sister, who I, unfortunately, never met. My family, including my boyfriend at the time, went to another city about 3 hours away from ours. My Catholic family went to Mass at a huge local church popular with tourists, while my boyfriend and I decided to wait for them in his car in the parking lot. Out of boredom, we started fooling around in the back seat. It was raining outside. 5 minutes later, my family came back. During a long car trip, I matched with a girl on Tinder. I stopped by her place and had a great time while my friend waited in the car. I gave my panties to some guys who asked for them in a club. They said it was for a bachelor party, right in the middle of the dance floor. My sister said, well, I'm wearing pants, but you're in a skirt, so let's give them ours. I shrugged and took mine off right there. She was like, holy crap, you're bold. I thought you'd at least go to the bathroom to take them off. For 5 minutes, I was the sluttiest girl in the club. I was a bartender and told a not so young, not so attractive woman that I'd go home with her if she gave me a good tip. I was 22, and she was definitely over 50. She gave me $200 in tips, and I kept my promise. I was sitting alone at McDonald's at 3 a.m. because I'm kind of a loner. A girl came in, clearly coming back from a party, wearing a tight mini dress, bold makeup, and barefoot, holding her heels in her hand. She came up to me and asked if I had a chicken nugget. I said no but offered to buy her some if she wanted. 30 minutes later, we were in the back seat of my car. My hose was in her mouth, and she'd pause every now and then to eat a nugget. Has anyone ever pleasured you while stopping to eat nuggets? It's a weird experience. When I got divorced, I was having financial problems. An older man, over 60, offered me $300 to sleep with him. Despite the 38-year age gap, he was decently attractive, and I hadn't been with anyone in months, so I agreed. It was amazing, and I got money to cover a month's rent. One night in college, I was going to a party at my friend's apartment, hoping to hook up with her. About 10 of us were there. While sitting on the couch with my arm around her, I got a text from her roommate, who had gone to her room to order food on her computer. The message said, "Come to my room." I did. She closed her laptop and said, "We have 15 minutes until the food arrives." I said, "Okay," and we hooked up. I slept with the mom of a girl who was stalking me. Originally, this girl was a friend with benefits, but I broke it off because she started acting crazy, like showing up at my workplace, following me when I left for work, and constantly texting me lists of everything she'd done for me, claiming I was cheating on her. Total insanity. Her mom knew she was stalking me and wanted to sort things out because her daughter was telling her all sorts of nonsense about me. We drank together, and it turned out she had a pretty deep throat. The next morning, I felt super awkward, to put it mildly, but damn, what a cathartic experience. I was with her mom a few times, partly to stick it to her crazy daughter. I'm not proud of it at all. Once, when my college roommate was away for the weekend, my girlfriend and I hooked up in his bed. I didn't plan to, it just happened while we were watching a movie on his bed, and she started touching me. I washed his bedding twice and put it back the next day. He yelled at me for an hour because the blanket wasn't made properly. I can't imagine what he'd have done if he knew what we really did. I still feel guilty about it. One time, I was playing GTA Online as a female character. Some guy came up to me and asked if I wanted to have fun. I agreed and got into his car, as any reasonable person would. He made me crouch in front of him to please him, making suggestive movements and sending messages like, "Oh yeah, feels good." As messed up as it sounds, he protected me from other players, drove me around in his fancy cars, gave me money for missions, and even took me to burger joints. Only after that did I give him what he wanted. October 10th, would do it again. Thanks to him, I got my first good car. Last summer, I ran into my former neighbor at the beach. She was a very attractive woman, 42 years old, while I was 20. I grew up around her, often mowed her lawn, and always admired her from afar, but I never thought anything could happen. She moved away when I was 16. After we met, she DM'd me on Instagram, guess she couldn't find me anywhere else. She said she was happy to see me and, quote, "I hope this doesn't sound too inappropriate, but you've grown into such a handsome guy." The game was on. She picked me up in her typical soccer mom car, and we hooked up a ton. It was unreal. We still talk and send each other naughty pics, but we both agreed to stop. I was a toy boy for two women in Bali. We met at a bar, and they showed me around the island in their chauffeured car, paying for my hotel stay. They said I just had to sleep with them whenever they wanted. It lasted 4 days. Once, I created an attractive female character in Perfect World and pretended to be a girl to get free stuff from guys. I lasted 4 days until the creep factor got overwhelming, but I can't deny the results. I felt like a slutty gold digger, but I made serious progress. A girl gave me pleasure in exchange for driving her home from work. She lived about 10 minutes from her job. This went on for 2 years until she moved. Looking back, I was 18 and perfectly happy with it, but now it feels awkward to think about. What would you do? At a party, I stepped outside to smoke and met a girl crying her eyes out because she'd just broken up with her boyfriend. 10 minutes later, we were in an empty room upstairs, going at it like rabbits. I've always thought that was my worst act. My second most depraved act was meeting a beautiful woman in her 60s at a hotel where we were celebrating my grandma's 70th birthday, with all my relatives there. She invited me to her room after we drank a lot, and she taught me a ton in bed. Damn, she was in great shape and looked amazing for her age. A girl I'd never met messaged me at 2:30 a.m. asking if I wanted to hook up. I'd just gotten home from a party, called an Uber, and went to her place. She didn't look anything like her photos, but I was drunk, so whatever. I called another Uber and went home. The whole thing took 47 minutes. The worst part was when I was leaving, she asked if I wanted to go on a date with her. I thought she was joking and laughed. She looked down and said, in a really sad voice, I wasn't holding out much hope anyway. I felt so ashamed. One girl offered me, __, if I bought her cookies at McDonald's. The pleasure cost me £107, and I felt like a total degenerate afterward. I worked at a supermarket from 7 to 11 p.m. and lost count of how many times people offered me, __, for a free pack of cigarettes. I remember a few times when attractive women made the offer. One time, it was late at night as usual, and she had 2 kids sitting in her car, watching us talk through the big windshield about 10 feet away. I work for Uber. An attractive girl got in my car after being stood up on a Tinder date. She mentioned the guy would have had a happy ending for sure. I offered to fill in, and I ended up at her place. She was like a female version of a South Park griefer. She worked in IT, and judging by her place, she was a hoarder, trash everywhere. Afterward, she asked if she could tip me or if that would count as an escort service. 5-star ride. I had a girlfriend who wanted to go out with me and find a girl for a threesome. One night, we were out in the city and met a cute blonde who was up for it. Things were going so well that we decided to book a room at a nearby, pretty expensive hotel. When I was paying for the room, the receptionist asked if there'd be 3 people in the room. I looked at the 2 girls waiting for me in the lobby and said, only if someone else joins us. She laughed nervously but showed up to our room at 1 a.m. While on vacation, a very attractive girl started flirting with me at a bar. Out of nowhere, she mentioned she was there with her husband, and they were looking for a third. She invited me to their room. I left my friends at the bar and went with them. I ended up passing out drunk. She did lines of prohibited substance on the table and started complaining that she suspected her husband was cheating, showing me suspicious texts on his phone. I spent an hour comforting her and then went back to my room. She didn't even share the Coke with me. I traveled the world for a year and played a flag game, a simple game where you try to collect as many flags as possible by hooking up with people from different countries. The less popular the country, the more points. Azerbaijan was my best score. She flashed her privates in a crowded bar and let people take pictures. I took off my blouse on my first date with my husband. I thought it'd be a one-time thing, but I had no experience, and my immature brain figured showing my boobs would be enough to initiate intimacy. He looked at me, concerned, gave me another blanket, and fell asleep. I cried, feeling like such a failure. I'd just broken up with my boyfriend of 3 years and got blackout drunk at a bar. I went outside to smoke and saw a cool motorcycle. I asked a group of guys whose it was, and one said it was his. I hopped on it and told him, "Let's go." He handed me a helmet, and we went to his place. It was awesome, but I later learned that getting on someone's motorcycle without permission is considered rude. We were playing poker at a bar, and a few girls wanted to learn how to play. One sat next to me, and I explained the rules. While she was playing, she asked, "What happens if I lose?" I was tipsy and jokingly said, "You'll give me pleasure." As expected, she lost, and I got my prize behind the bar's dumpsters. My friends still bring it up at least once a week. Note, some parts of the original text were incomplete or ambiguous, and I left them as placeholders or inferred meaning based on context. Let me know if you want specific sections revised or if you'd like me to tone down explicit content further. Additionally, the text appears to be a compilation of various anecdotes, likely from a social media or forum post, so the structure is fragmented. I can reorganize it if needed.